Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to provide to you the most recent update that I have on immigrant visa backlog, K1 visas, how to reapply for visas for those that were refused previously under the proclamations, maybe cover some DV lottery update, and many more visas relating to what's happening at the embassies and consulates right now. And this is based on the recent FAQ that was released on the Facebook page of the Department of State. We're going to go through this FAQ and interpret it further. So what are you waiting for? I'll see you on the other side. Hello everybody and welcome back to our immigration channel. This is a place where you get the most up-to-date immigration news, immigration updates, and everything else that you need to make your immigration journey less stressful. My name is Jacob Sapochnik and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California. If you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to recommend this video to more people just like you. As I mentioned before, in this video we'll give you the most up-to-date information about immigrant visas and specifically the backlog situation with all embassies and consulates, and this is based on FAQ question and answer that was released on their Facebook page, and I wanted to go through it and give you some of my take on what's happening. So let's jump right into it. So the first question is, why are there still immigrant visa interview backlogs? And here's what the Department of State had to say. Our number one priority is the safety of our applicants and our staff. The immigrant visa interview backlog has developed because of limitations in staffing and other COVID-related operational constraints, preventing us from processing the same volume of applicants as pre-pandemic. In addition, Presidential Proclamation 114 and geographic COVID proclamations restricted visa processing for many immigrants for nearly a year. It will take time to process the cases that were impacted by these travel restrictions. So as you can see, and I mentioned that before in many videos, everything that happened with the proclamations, with the COVID-19 restrictions, it was very difficult for these consulates and embassies to operate normally. What are you doing, Department of State, to decrease the backlog? We are committed to decreasing this backlog by prioritizing certain visas, creating efficiencies in the visa process, and utilizing all available resources until our task is accomplished. Applicants should check the website of their nearest U.S. embassy or consulates for updates on what visa services are currently available. And as I mentioned to you before, many of these consulates are training new staff to be able to handle the increase in volume. They're also changing their internal structure of these consulates. So while before they were limited to just the windows behind the glass, they may be opening other offices in the back of these embassies to accommodate more people, so they'll be able to interview more people and this way go through the backlog even faster. Remember, this is going to be individual for every embassy, and it's your responsibility to contact your embassy to make sure that they're open and they're starting to process interview visas right now. A very common question that a lot of applicants are asking, are virtual appointments, Zoom appointments, available for immigrant visa interviews? Why can't they just do Zoom appointments instead of waiting for people to go in person and waste so much time? Here's what they had to say. Current regulation require all immigrant visa applicants to appear in person before a consular officer. Zoom calls are not possible right now, unfortunately. Also, another important point about interviews is that in many countries people have to travel to different cities far away from where they live to conduct those immigrant visa interviews. The next question they asked is, what are the regional COVID-19 restrictions? Specifically, what about the travel bans that are still in place? And here's their answer. The geographic COVID-19 related presidential proclamations 9984, 9992, and 10143, which suspend entry into the US of foreign nationals who have been physically present in China, Iran, Schengen area, UK, Ireland, Brazil, and South Africa in the 14 days period before seeking entry to the United States remain in effect. But as of April 8, 2021, all immigrant applicants and K1 visas, non-immigrant applicants are accepted from the geographic COVID-19 proclamations and may be processed. So again, the travel ban from Schengen and all these other countries that were mentioned is still in effect. So if you want to travel directly from those countries, as of the recording of this video, you still have to quarantine for 14 days before entering the United States. However, if you apply for an immigrant visa, if you apply for a K visa, you're exempt from these proclamations. You can get your visa and fly directly into the United States without quarantining anywhere else. And this is official on the DOS FAQ. So I just want to make sure that it's clear, because again, I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys about this. This is the current state of events right now. Let's talk about family-based petitions. What can you do if you've been waiting for your immigrant visa interview and nothing happened? What is going on with this right now? Immigrant visa applicants who are eligible for interview will be scheduled for appointments according to our existing phased resumption of visa services guidance. What that means is that right now, as soon as these embassies in the different locations are going to be able to reopen, they'll be seeking from the MVC to send the files to them so they can start interviewing people. So if you're waiting, you have to be still patient. But remember, if you're waiting too long, there could be a way for you to expedite your case by requesting a special expedited case request based on a national interest exemption. And again, we've been doing quite a lot of these. And so it's on a case-by-case basis. So it's important to figure out how long you've been waiting, if you qualify under the exceptions, and then try to expedite your case. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting forever. So what about immigrant visas? How are they being prioritized at the moment? Post that process immigrant visa applications are prioritizing visa categories in accordance with our phased resumption of visa services. And then for more information, see the following website, travel.state.gov/visa services operating. Based on previous videos that I mentioned before, they are prioritizing CR1s, IR1s, and K visas under the family categories. So again, it's important for you to check with your individual embassy to see if they're open already. If they are, make sure you pressure on them to get your interview scheduled. What if you were refused a visa because you were subject to the Muslim ban, as they call that ban? What can you do at this moment? Let's see what the DOS had to say. On January 20, the President ended the travel restrictions under PPPs 9645, 9983. They suspended the entry into the United States of certain nationals from Burma, Eritrea, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Libya, Nigeria, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, Venezuela, and Yemen. Immigrant visa applicants who were refused under these proclamations and were determined not to qualify for a waiver before January 20, 2020 may reapply for a visa by submitting a new visa application, DS-260 forms, and all the fees, processing fees. Immigrant visa applicants who were refused due to either PPP 9645 or 9983 and whose eligibility for a waiver was still being evaluated as of January 20, 2021 will continue to have their applications processed without needing to submit a new application fee. So as I mentioned on the DOS FAQ, if you didn't qualify for a waiver before January 20th, you have to reapply from the beginning, pay all the fees, and submit the DS-260. And that's the only way to do so. If you're not going to do so, your case will be basically not move anywhere. So it's important to be aware of that if you're one of those applicants from those countries and you were not able to process your applications before January 20th, because you didn't qualify for a waiver, you need to start from zero and reapply. So let's talk about K visas. When can you schedule a K visa interview? K visa applicants will continue to have their applications prioritized in accordance with the prioritization guides found in travel.state.gov/visa services operating. Please check website of the embassy or consulate to see whether routine visa services are being provided. If you have already submitted all of the required documents, monitor your email for an appointment and further instructions. So as you can see, the State Department says that they are prioritizing K1 visas, but in practice, we don't really see that. Quite a few of these embassies are not processing K1 visa on a normal basis, and therefore it is important to try to push them by either trying to expedite your cases, or in many cases, sometimes we have no choice but to sue the individual posts. And of course, there's a lot of general litigation going on, but like I said, in individual cases, you have to be in touch with your individual embassy, and in many cases, it's important to actually try to expedite your case, because otherwise nothing is moving. Once again, if you do need help with your individual case, make sure you text me at 619-483-4549, 619-483-4549. The number is also here on the screen to set up your consultation to help you expedite your individual case. A lot of questions come from the Milligan versus Pompeo litigation. If you're part of that litigation, can you schedule your K-1 visa interview? The State Department had to say the following. K-1 visa applicants who are named plaintiffs in Milligan versus Pompeo should contact the nearest embassy or consulate for guidance on scheduling a visa interview. The court order doesn't require that the plaintiffs be given a special priority ahead of other K-1 applicants. So it's interesting that they say that even if you're a plaintiff in this litigation, you don't necessarily have a priority. Definitely should be able to get your interview scheduled, but they're kind of a little bit vague about whether they have priority. It seems like they don't. If you're a member of this litigation, it is important for you to let the embassy know and see if you can get some sort of a way to get your interview scheduled right now. But again, even if you're not part of this litigation, you have to be in contact with your individual embassy, and if they're not responding or it's taking too long, my suggestion is still to try to expedite your K visa right now. Right, so let's talk about some diversity visa issues, DV 2020. Here's one of the questions that they are answering. So if you were issued a visa, DV Lottery 2020, your visa expired, what can you do now if you want to travel to the United States? Individuals whose DV 2020 visas have expired may not be issued replacement visas. However, by virtue of the court's order in Gomez versus Trump, individuals who received DV in 2020 as a result of the orders in that case may travel to the United States on that expired diversity immigrant visa. However, these visa holders are encouraged to travel on these expired visas as soon as possible. So remember, the issue is that right now they're not able to issue these visas because of their backlog, but they do say that you can travel. If you were issued a visa, you should be able to contact the UCIS liaison at the airport and show them this FAQ, or there were previous orders before, and let them know that you are allowed to travel even with an expired visa. But remember, it is important to do so as soon as possible. What about the other people? You were selected in the DV 2020 lottery, but you were not able to schedule your interview. What can you do now? Unfortunately, DV 2020 selectees who were not issued visas before the end of 2020 cannot be interviewed, scheduled, or considered for visas now. As by law, those selectees were only eligible for issuance of a visa through the end of 2020 fiscal year, which ended on September 30th, 2020. You may enter to be selected for a future DV program. So this is pretty devastating for a lot of people that were not able to get visas under the DV 2020 because the embassies were closed. Many of these people lost their visas, and there's no way for them to get scheduled for visa interviews. As you know, that door is closing on September 30th, 2020. There's probably going to be some litigation on this, but that's what it is at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to put a link to the full FAQ at the description of this video, so you'll be able to read it in more detail. And if you have questions, you can post them in the comments below as well. Finally, let's talk about employment-based visas interviews. When can you finally schedule your employment-based immigrant visa interview? While posts that process immigrant visa applications still prioritize immediate relative family members of U.S. citizens, including adoptions, fiancés, and certain special immigrant visa applications, we recognize the importance of employment-based immigrants. All immigrant visa applicants who have not yet been interviewed or scheduled for an interview will have their applications processed according to our existing phased resumption of visa services framework. So once again, it's pretty vague, and from what we know, immigrant visas based on employment are not yet being prioritized and are not yet being interviewed on a consistent, regular basis. Some people get it if they fall under an exception. And so at this moment, once again, stay in touch with your embassy. If you have an immigrant visa interview based on employment, stay patient. We know that those embassies are going to reopen very soon, and it's coming. So hopefully this update was helpful. I mean, as I always do, as soon as I have an update from the State Department, I will make a video and bring this information back to you. If you're here for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. If you need help with your case, make sure to text me to 619-483-4549. I want to be able to have a consultation with you and help you with your individual case. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.